Uh, Hello and good evening to everyone. Thank you for coming. As this is the last talk of this year, not only for the day, before starting, I would like to ask for a warm applause for Christian for organizing these 3 days of knowledge sharing. Yeah, because after this we will go and we will forget about this. I'm going to talk about the ICPC archive. If you were here last year, you probably remember that we outlined some of the ideas that we were working on regarding an ICPC archive that, as you are going to see in a few moments, is not only related to problem archiving, but to archiving many more things and many more stuff. But if you were not here, I can just make a quick reminder of why it's important to have an ICPC archive. We are almost reaching the 50th anniversary of the ICPC, and along these years we have gathered thousands of pieces of information, probably hundreds of thousands, that are scattered, that are lost across sites, drives, cell phones, personal folders, wherever. But there is not a single point, a single entry point to reach all that information, that it's huge, and it's important for legacy reasons and also for to keep the new generations aware of what has been done up to now. The risk of loss is you can obviously think about that, and you will have many ideas on how that information can be lost. Links that do not work anymore, servers that do not work anymore, formats that do not work anymore from 10 years, 30 years ago. Which means that we have lots of material that is hard to find, hard to discover, hard to cite, hard to reuse, that it's there, but it's useless in this form. So, something like a couple of years ago, it was decided to start thinking about creating a huge archive for information, for all the information of the ICPC. An open archive that it's available for all of you, and that it's an authoritative source of all the data, all the pieces of information, meaning that if something is not in the official archive, probably it's not, or it doesn't belong to the ICPC, that kind of authority. That way, it obviously can serve researchers, students, organizers, coaches, wherever is journalists, whoever is interested in the legacy or in the story of the ICPC. Will have access to that. Obviously, well, this is a given using modern user interfaces. It wouldn't make any sense to use an old user interface for a new service, but okay. So, what happened at this point when we started about thinking about an archive? And I was involved in the old problem archive that existed until 2018. So I was thinking of that kind of archive, and actually I said, well, this is actually quite easy to do. You get the problems, get the information. Then I started researching on what archiving actually means, and I found that there is people that make a living actually out of archiving. So it's a complex thing. It's a career thing, just being an archiver. So I started to learn about metadata, formats, preservation masters, access copies, lots of terms that I didn't heard of before that, and that are actually quite important to archiving. So what we want to preserve in the ICPC archive, given that ideas in mind that I started learning something like a year ago or a year and a half ago. And we want to preserve all the artifacts related to context that we can, beyond problem sets, obviously. Obviously, the jewel of the crown, the most important thing are the problems, but obviously there are thousands of additional pieces of information that are interesting. Schedules, posters, badges, all the photos, videos, streams that we have. Biographies, testimonies, interviews with people involved in the ICPC along the years. Locations, cities, institutions, whatever. Anything, actually, anything that we can scan, photograph, or save on a hard drive can find its way to the archive. But then I discovered that archiving is not storing. I mean, you cannot just put some files in a folder that it's called archive and say, well, this is immortal from now. No, it doesn't work that way. It happens that not every PDF out there is suitable for archiving because you need a PDF with fonts inside of the document, embedded into the document. You need a PDF with a given format that is not going to change in time. And it's not about, I cannot open a PDF from 1 year ago. It's about create a document that you will be able to open in 30 years from now. Make sure that this format will be still a working format in 30 years, in 40 years, not only for documents for PDFs, but also for video, also for photographs, wherever. If we take a look at the list of the formats that are not in use anymore, it's much longer than the list of formats that we use every day. So all of those formats, codecs, are now lost. So we have to make sure that we can do that same for images. Not every image format is the same. Some of them are lossy formats. They lose information. Some of them not lose information. Same for video. And now we have to add the metadata. It's not about having a 2-hour video of something. You have to write the metadata saying who appears there, what's happening in that video, in that photograph, in that whatever. So yeah, archiving is not storing. It's much more work than storing. Thankfully, the AI will help with many of the aspects of this, creating quality metadata. But it involves a lot of human work also. And final is not a good metadata strategy. I've tried for many years, but it didn't work. Regarding formats, and a quick mention to the formats that we are going to use or they're usually used in archiving. For example, PDF, there are several standards called PDF-A. A stands for archiving, which are specifically designed to archive documents and to make sure that files will work in decades from now. Some of these formats are even ISO standards. So that way you make sure that they are not proprietary formats. Images, same for images. You cannot just store JPG photographs pretending that it will be the best format, because you will lose information every time that JPG is transferred from one system to another, or every time it's opened. So if you can go to the originals, to the raw files, much better. That's what is called the preservation masters. Then we will have the access copies, which are just versions that we use for people to enjoy. This means that archiving, and we are in the middle of a different slide, but this gives us the best definition I have read of what archiving is having very high quality preservation copies that can be used to create access copies for users. That is archiving. It looks like it's that. They said it's that. Well, same for graphics. I will go quite fast on this because it's, yeah, JPGs are great for memes, but not so great for archiving materials. Same goes for audio, video, and data. MP3 is great for having music on our cell phone, but it's really a bad idea to have for masters, for information masters. I don't want to bore you with these technicalities. Which is the workflow that we have designed for archiving? Well, everything goes to making sure that what enters in the archive is actually complies with everything that we want to be there. It doesn't work like saying, let's import the images, the photos now, and we will put the metadata next month. It won't work that way. So nothing will enter the archive if it's not 100% complete in all its information, fields, validations, required fields, license, whatever. Checksums, this is important. I learned something about how actual archives work. And obviously you get a checksum on the upload, on the first load of the document. But then you will need to have a strategy of checking that checksums at least one per month, once every couple of weeks, to check the integrity of the archive constantly. And the moment you see that there is an integrity problem, you have to act, going for the backups, which also there is a strategy of called 3-2-1, which means 3 copies in at least 2 different locations and at least one of them offline or cold copy or in a hard drive in a drawer. That's a good strategy. Then you just schedule the validation of every file in the archive every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, every month. When you scan PDFs, you have to extract the text information, OCR, the scanned PDFs, to make them useful, because if you don't OCR them, they are just images. You cannot search for them, you cannot access its information. So part of the workflow before entering the archive is to extract all the useful information from the archive, from the documents. Same for versioning. We might have a piece of information in lower quality, for example, a scan, and after some time we find a better quality version, but we have to make sure that we tell the archive that this is a new version of an existing document, not a new document. And then once we have ingested all the documents, we can create copies for the users, access-friendly copies or access copies. What we are going to use for the actual platform for the archive, well, it's a platform called CKAN, which is used by many governments or many big institutions in the world to keep usually their open data repositories, but I think it's used in the Library of Congress in the United States. It's used by the government of Canada for all their open access, open data. So it's a proven platform, it works well, it's well maintained, and can handle this huge amount of information. Yeah, well. So the stack is the CKAN plus PostgreSQL plus Solr as the search engine, a very, very good search engine, and that on top of storage services like Amazon, S3, or similar services. Which might look like it's maybe we can think about if it's worth to go for that kind of storage if we are not going that many accesses, but Actually, if we can think that storage is expensive, we have to think what happens when we can't access the information or when we lose the information, which is much more expensive. So storage prices actually are not a factor in this. What CCAN allows us to do is to very easily have any kind of index on the information, on the metadata. It has very powerful scripts for harvesting the information, for loading thousands of pieces of information all at once. You can just give the system a YouTube playlist, and it will take care of downloading every video, taking all the metadata, and uploading. So it's actually quite convenient for this kind of project. And now, what's already done so far? We have a CCAN pilot version, model version running. It works. And it took a while to make it work, but it now works. So we can test there the different schemas, the custom schemas that we are defining for handling the ICPC information, for example. It has the ICPC colors and logotype. So it looks like an ICPC site. I have a little picture of it at the end. And, well, it has the user interface, some maps here and there where all the geographical information of the data will appear. And so it looks like an actual website, not a demo or anything like that. And we have an S3 storage, which is not actually Amazon, is a simulated S3 storage local, just to check that the commands and the interactions with the S3 system work. And obviously that's important because when we go production with the site, we want to make sure that everything underneath it also works. Regarding schemas, we have created the schemas already for all the finals. The finals and the regions require some work here because the regions have changed along the years. So a region with the same name might have comprised different countries along the years. For example, it has happened in Europe. So you cannot just define a region that comprises a number of countries, but a region and a year comprises a number of countries. So you need a different schema from the standard one. Obviously, all the core fields, the event types, the roles, that's defined. We have made some testing on harvesting, on ingestion, working well so far with different kinds of data, documents, and we have made some prototypes that can import documents directly from GitHub, from YouTube, wherever. And it works. The scripts are good, so we can enrich the metadata easily, automatically, and we can check links automatically, that making sure that everything works along the time and so. Now we come to the rights and licenses. This is a huge problem to the point that we have now a lawyer in the team, because it's not each document must be cleared somehow. And there are thousands of them. So we need to have very precise guidelines on how to work with each document, each kind of document, because we have to make sure that we have the right to store that document, to produce copies of that document that are different from the original in the sense that we change formats or sizes or whatever, and that we are allowed to publish those documents on the ICPC archive. We might think that obviously everything related to ICPC should belong to ICPC, but should is not a license. So we have to make sure that we actually can do that. So we have a legal advisor on the team to take care of these kind of things. So the license fields are enforced. We are trying to get Creative Commons licenses for everything that we can, but we realize that it won't be easy to get it for the 100% of the contents. So we have to make sure that every document, every piece of information is licensed in some way or the other, and that we have a record, we track a record of what that license is and what can we do with that. With all the information about who is the rights holder or where we found the document, whatever. Same goes for interviews or testimonies, or obviously in this case with a takedown policy defined, because someone might agree with an interview posted there, and 3 years later they might not agree with that. So there needs to be a system, a protocol defined to take down that kind of information if we are requested to do it at some point. So these are the things that when you think about an archive, don't think of at the first, and that you discover when you are investigating more on the right. Found on the internet is not a license. Even we checked with the legal advisor, but there was no way of convincing him. So yeah, found on the internet is not a license. There should be someone behind that we have to check anyway. Now regarding how the archive is organized inside, we have different roles, like it's a standard thing in any website. So roles of people that submit, roles for editors, for reviewers, for curators, for whatever you might think. I think there are, I just have written 4 roles here, but I think that there are like 8 or 9 roles defined on the platform. There is an administrator role, and to ease the contributions and to eventually open the contribution system to the general public, which is not open yet, we have to make sure that we have the submissions form easy enough for people to just submit things without having to fight many technicalities. Obviously, we have checklists for metadata qualities, and probably those are drafts for now, but at some point they will be final. And that's pretty much where we are now after this first year, which has been mostly a learning year more than doing, and to research for concepts on archiving, for platforms on archiving, for techniques on archiving, all of this. So reading a lot and doing much less things than reading. The idea is to have the archive as complete as possible in some point. We are starting obviously with World Finals because it's where we have more information available. After that, we are going to approach regions. Let's see what we can find there. It won't be easy, and some regions will be easier, and some will be harder, but we will try to fill the gaps as much as we can. Same thing for interviews. Obviously, we cannot do this by ourselves. We will probably have to, at some point, join efforts with the people from ICPC Live or ICPC Media, so they can start gathering interviews or other kind of testimonies from people with an historical background on the ICPC. But it's not, probably it's not our task now to create new contents, but just to gather what is done. But at some point it will be interesting to have something like this. Same for search. We will try to make it search. Right now, search is more like a textual search, but at some point we will try to improve the search algorithms to make it more more complete. Also, well, what I was saying about ingesting other phases of the ICPC, not only the World Finals, but regions, even local contests at universities, where obviously we have to provide the tools for ingesting that, but it's not easy that we can do all of that by ourselves. But we will obviously provide the means for people interested to do it. In those kinds of events that are not in the core of the ICPC, but are more like local contests or things like that. And that's it. I hope you enjoy the logo and the title. This is the kind of style that we are putting on the web page, which it looks quite nice to me. And thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. One of the things that I didn't see in the list of items to be archived in your first or second slides is like scoreboard and the teams and the participants inside the teams and maybe even like submissions, like code submissions. I know like archiving this, like especially code submissions can be very tricky with the legal ethics and so on with like, yeah, with the property owner of the code and so on, but like, are there efforts to like even archive like these as well?
We're going to, absolutely, we're going to archive the results, the scoreboards. And who is the owner of the code? The team, the contest, and so that's tricky. And we have to, I would like to archive that kind of information because we have it available for many finals, but we have to make sure of all the licensing involved in that. And also we have to check with the judging teams, because releasing submissions that received one verdict might be tricky if someone finds that that submission didn't deserve that verdict for some reason. So probably that would work, with old submissions, say more than 10-year-old submissions, but it's trickier to do it on more recent submissions because they can lead to comments or to question how it was evaluated in the first time. But we are going to look into it, and we'll find some compromise between making it public and keeping the rights safe for everyone involved.
Got it, understandable. But on the scoreboard and the teams and the people inside the teams, that should be.
Yeah, absolutely. That's part of the core information on each content. I didn't mention it, but obviously, if you are mentioning archiving the information related to World Finals, contestants are the most important part of the contest.
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing this up, since you're talking about archiving material other than just problem sets and contest results. Several times over my rather lengthy ICPC career, call it that, I was asked to provide things like historical notes, comments, reflections. I think I still have copies of some of them. I don't know whatever happened to them. I think there were some issues, or some intent rather, to use this material and provide some type of historical background and capture information. I know there are other people here that have lots of historical information about their ICPC participation. Hi. So I guess the question is what happened to that? Do you know? And if I do still have some of that stuff, which I'm pretty sure I do you still want it? And if so, how?
Well, I absolutely want it, and I have no idea of what happened with that because probably no one knows. It's probably in some inbox of some email, but I don't know. But I would be really happy to have that and to include it on the corpus of the archive. Yeah. So you have the archive
I
at
do.
archive@icpc.global where you can reach us with any info, and that goes for obviously for everyone. If you have something to share, we'll be very happy to receive it and to include include it into the archive.
Hi. I wanted to mention event feed as an artifact which is, in my opinion, significantly more valuable than a scoreboard because it is so much more important for contestants to be able to work and train looking at the real scoreboard the way it was during the contest, not just a fantasy created based on the final scoreboard. And then there are plenty of limitations regarding the publishing of individual data such as first name and last name over the world. So I'm afraid that the problem with first names and last names is significantly less trivial than it appears to be. But I would like to propose the approach of archive first and ask for forgiveness later.
I will ask the lawyer about that. but yeah, I think I agree with you on that, totally.
Hello, thank you so much. One challenge that I'm anticipating is that when we have run a regional contest some years ago, and then you come and ask us for archival information, we might not know whether we are allowed to share that with you. And this is like for people who work at a university that has a legal department that can answer these questions for us. Maybe this is a solvable problem. For people who are not affiliated with the university, this might be a very difficult problem. Is there any way that you can give us guidance that might help make these decisions about what we are allowed to share with you? But then again, I suspect it might differ in different jurisdictions. And
yeah, we can. We will try. We'll try guiding everyone on this, but obviously there are many legislations in the world. So we will do our best, but at some point we might be lost on that, and then we'll have to ask to people to ask in their own legal advisors to check if they can or cannot release things. But it's actually licensing and doing it right is actually the biggest problem to solve on this. Much bigger than gathering the information. The information is out there on the internet, but we have to make sure that we can just publish it or republish it.
Hi, thank you so much for this presentation. I want to add what Lydia said just recently to the first name and last name. We kind of had this kind of issue before with our projects, where some government or some other issues where you don't have a license to post personal data of particular citizens. And I do understand that for storage you use S3 and it is a cloud storage, and some government can just force you to choose a local storages. So I think it will be good to know that there are more, not only standards, but some countries, they have their own rules how to store the data. So I think it will be really good to prepare for this infrastructure war where you know how to handle all this data and get the license, not only just from ICPC, or you can just do it like through ICPC, and based on that documentation, you can store all this personal data. Because we used to have all these problems, and fortunately we could solve it just by getting more infra in the specific country and storing all this data there. So I think it is really good to see how your efforts making it live. So that's something that I'm sharing my experience on this.
Yeah, the first answer to that will be that we just anonymize the data and that's it. We just change names and surnames for numbers for each person involved. And we have also to check with ICPC when you sign in for the contest, what you are allowing to do with your data along the years. Because probably the rules have changed along the years. But yeah, obviously we know about that kind of laws that won't allow you, for example, in the EU, we have that. We cannot put our names on a server outside of the EU, which is kind of absurd at some point, because even if you hire an infrastructure inside the EU, it might be making backups outside and you don't know about it, but that's the law. So probably the quickest way of doing that is just anonymizing information and then asking if people want to allow us to share that information, that names. Or probably, for example, problem setters will be easy to contact. Students, contestants will be a bit harder. So we have to make some choices on that. But probably anonymizing is the best approach, at least the safest.